Hello dreamers, and welcome back to Livin the Dream. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Livin the Dream 506. My guest today is one of my favorite musicians of all time. From Fat Jebus, Cher, Fussy Part, Force Fields, the Olympic Symphonium, and now his new project, Some DADS, whose new self-titled album is out now. Please give it up for Nick Cobham.
Does anybody know where this river flows? Does anybody know who tell me how we ended up wallowing in mud? Does anybody know who'll break it gently? I can't recall much of it at all. No memory of thieves deceiving. The ignorance in this is far removed from bliss. Is there any point to all of this? Does anybody hear me? Can't you hear me calling out into nothing? Can't you hear me calling out into the void? Can't you see me standing with arms waving wildly, slightly going crazy? Living a dream, 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 living a dream.
All right. So, Nick Cobham. Is it Cobham?
Yep, Cobham.
Nick Cobham. So, Some DADS, that's the current project, but all the other you got a bunch of other projects on the go. What are Olympic Symphonium, Force Fields?
Yeah, those would be the two other major ones. Heat and Lights is one band I play with too, but we haven't
Yeah.
played it. We haven't played shows in a really long time. But we're hoping to get back into it.
When shows are a thing again.
Hopefully, yeah.
What about older projects? Ever any talk about bringing back like any Cher or Fat Jebus or anything like that?
Cher, we did like a 10-year reunion show with Cher last year, I believe. Because Forward Music was doing like a retrospective event where Cher performed a whole album and Olympic Symphonium performed our first album in its entirety.
Right.
And that was super fun, but it was like just a one-off show. And I mean, it was super fun to do. I doubt, I can't see us Cher ever touring again. It's been talked
Right.
about. It's been talked about a little bit, but with Andrew being in Montreal, like it's extremely hard.
Yeah.
And with Fat Jebus, I mean, we've joked about that a few times because we love that band and playing in that band. Ryan, our drummer's in Newfoundland right now. If he ever makes it back here, who knows, man? We could probably play some shows if we wanted to. Bring back the fun.
That'd be awesome. You guys ever talked about like covering it with Some DADS or anything like that?
No, actually, that'd be pretty funny.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, the thought hasn't even crossed my mind. That's amazing.
That would be so fucking awesome.
It would probably sound completely different in a weird way.
I mean, it's a cover technically, so
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I was gonna talk about Fat Jebus a little bit because I just remember those like the good old days at Evolve and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's when I first was exposed to Fat Jebus, because when I was young, I wasn't in Fredericton or St. John really. So the only time I really saw live music was during the festival scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I was first exposed to like Fussy Part.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember, way back at Evolve, Fussy Part played, and it was right during a crazy fucking storm.
Oh man, yeah.
Crazy. And you guys were playing, I think it was Dog Food Thumb, I think you ended with.
Yep.
And it could have been a bunch of things in my head going on at the same time, but it seemed like just as soon as you guys played your last note, a fucking lightning bolt just hit the festival and just exploded, and you're like, run for cover, and then the whole crowd just dispersed, and it was one of the coolest experiences ever.
That show comes up in conversation quite a lot, actually. It's pretty funny. We've had people tell us they were positive that we conjured that storm that night.
That's the way I felt too.
Yeah, and man, I remember like within seconds that stage was flooded. We had to move all the gear to the back of the stage because it was like in like this in the middle of the stage, so it just all pulled right in the center there. And yeah, it was crazy. It was nuts. That was one of the heaviest. That was one of the heaviest rainstorms I've ever been in.
That was one of the heaviest shows I've ever seen. Just all around.
Yeah. Well, man, that was one of my favorite shows. We do make Say Think played right after that.
Yep.
And well, they're one of my favorite bands, so I was extremely pumped that night.
Yeah, I think you posted about them recently.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you know, those Facebook posts that are going around about albums, influential albums.
Yeah.
I could say that all of their albums are extremely influential to me, but yeah, they're just a great band. They're the band that really got me into playing like instrumental guitar music, that style, which eventually led obviously to stuff that I was writing for Fussy Part, and then eventually Force Fields. But yeah, that band just completely changed me. Really cool band.
Yeah. Why did you guys change the name? Like, obviously marketability, but like, it almost seems like a decision like that would come with the decision to try to really go somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess it was obviously a joke name for one. Right. And there was back in the day, like some sort of interest coming to the band. And that we even had a label tell us once, like, you know, we would sign you if you didn't have that name. And we just kind of stupidly said, oh, well, who cares? We're not changing the name. And then years later, we eventually did change the name just because I think we all just kind of maybe, I don't know. I don't really can't really recall the actual circumstances for changing the name. But I do remember Tim Walker suggesting Force Fields because I think he thought that it would just perfectly describe the band.
Right.
And as soon as we heard it, we were like, oh, yeah, that's actually a pretty cool name.
Yeah. What label was it? Can you say?
Oh, I don't even remember their name, but they're from like out west in like Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
I think even if I did know their name, I probably wouldn't say it, but
right.
And they had some really cool bands on their label that we liked, but yeah, they obviously thought that we weren't taking it too seriously. That's too bad.
Right. Yeah. Like, were you guys taking it seriously? Like, I've always wondered this with every band you've been a part of, to be honest, and like Grand Theft Bus, all of these bands that are not just local awesome, but seriously internationally awesome. You guys have, like, different iterations have toured in Europe and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And these bands are not just local awesome. These are bands that could really go somewhere. And I always wondered why you guys never made that leap. Like, was it a conscious decision, or, you know what I mean?
It's hard, man. It's a hard business to really get into and survive and thrive, really. I mean,
yeah,
we could try, and I think we did try years ago, like, to play as much as we could and tour as much as we could, you know, with going over to Europe a few times and really trying to make a go at it. But like, and sure, those tours are fun, but were we coming back with a lot of money? No. Were we selling tons of records? Not really. I mean, it got the word out about the bands a bit, but in order to really make a go at it, you literally have to probably just quit everything else to really get it going. And I mean, we've all like consistently had jobs while we're playing in these bands. You know, it's because the bands themselves don't pay the bills, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so I would say there was a few years where we were really trying, but I don't know, man. You can only do so much.
Yeah. Families and stuff like that. Like
Well,
most of
yeah.
you guys have kids.
Yeah, we're all like pretty much everybody I play with is a dad.
Dads.
Yeah. So yeah, hence the name.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just real life is always there.
Yeah. It's always been a topic of conversation with like everybody that is a fan, because everybody knows how talented you guys all are. And even the recordings, like the albums you guys put out are mastered flawlessly. Like it's professional.
Yeah.
But, and like you said, it is a tough business to crack. It just, you do have to sort of just give up everything. And I'm sure if you guys did that, the end result after maybe 10 years would be a successful touring band. But I mean,
hey, that's nice of you to
that's the
say.
risk. I'm not the only one that says it.
I would like to think that would be the case, but I think it's not too late now. But I mean, I feel like that period is over. We're still playing in tons of bands, and we still take it super seriously, especially when it comes to recording. Like recording, being in the studio with friends and making music and experimenting in the studio is like it's one of the funnest things you could do, for me anyway. And we take that super seriously, and especially when it comes to like making a product, like a whole piece. Like I like to think that the albums that we record, depending on what bands it is, I mean, they're cohesive. They're like a piece, and I like to think of them as a whole piece of art. You know, like it's not just a bunch of songs come together. When you listen to it, I'd like to hope that people walk away thinking like, oh, that was an experience listening to that album. So we definitely take that part of it extremely seriously.
Yeah. The Some Dads EP, Come Hither, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Come Hither, I think. I found that had a very cohesive feel to it.
Yeah, those songs were written in a really short time together, and at the time it was just the three of us. And actually that one was recorded in a weird way. Tace and I did our parts together, like guitar and bass together. Then I recorded vocals, and then we later brought in Bob. So he didn't even have drum parts for those songs, but like we were just really becoming a band at that point. Hadn't played any shows. So it was just like, hey, Bob, why don't you sit behind the drums and see what you can come up with for these? It was pretty cool. Don't get to do that often.
Right. How important is Bob on drums for all these projects?
Oh, he's a monster. He's very important. You know, we I feel a definite musical kinship with that guy. So, and he's always surprising you. It's some of my favorite moments are being on stage with Bob, and he just does something in a song you've played, 40 times, and he does something once that's just completely brand new and ridiculous. And the rest of us just look at each other going like, where'd that come from? How did you do that? And he will never do it again. You know what I mean? That's the craziest thing.
I almost get the feel sometimes from him that he's trying to like screw the rest of the band up as like just a goof. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's part of it for sure. But that's fun though. It keeps you on your toes, right? So
yeah, no, he's an incredible drummer. He's definitely a huge backbone in all these projects.
Oh yeah, and I can remember the first time seeing Grand Theft Bus, in like 99 or 2000.
Right. And
immediately he's the guy you're focused on, just going like, okay, what's going on here? Who's this guy? So
shirtless.
Yeah. Who's this shirtless guy with the super long dreads? I don't know if you saw them when he had the long dreads, but
oh yeah. Back in like, he used to play in like St. Andrews and stuff. That I was only 14 years old, like when I first saw them, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Game changer.
For sure. When did you guys meet? Like, when did you meet that crew?
It was probably around like 2000, because I would have been starting to play a lot with Fat Jebus here in Fredericton around this, like at the Cellar a lot. And, they were always playing there. and bands like Melonworks,
Oh yeah.
Flying Boat, all these bands, and you end up playing together, or you just go see each other play all the time. And it was, especially the Cellar at that time, it was like literally the place to be.
Right.
And so you're just always seeing each other, and then eventually you just start a little friendship with all the bands, and next thing you know, everybody's trading members and
Yeah.
forming other bands.
Did you when did you first jump in with Grand Theft Bus? And I know you were doing harmony vocals every now and then and stuff like that. I saw you guys, I think you were wearing a fucking mask in your underwear at Shoreline one year.
Oh yeah, I've got pictures of that somewhere here. Yeah, we were just playing together enough that they asked me to sing on Made Upwards. I was on a few tracks on that.
Yeah,
and
Automatic.
Yeah, so it eventually just stemmed from that. I was on that album, and then we did a bunch of shows around that time to tour that album. And I was just kind of always around. So if I was available and playing the shows with them with another band, then it was easy to just get up on stage and join them. But yeah, it was fun. I'm glad to get to sing. Anytime I get to sing with the Walker Brothers is a good time.
Yeah, for sure. What a crazy brother duo.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. They're just, when they sing together, it's just perfect.
Yeah,
sure. It's that blood harmony, that nothing sounds better than two guys or two girls who are siblings singing together.
Yeah, no, they kill it.
Yeah.
Was Fat Jebus your first band?
Yeah, pretty much. First original band. I used to play back in the day. Pat and I from Fat Jebus played in Groove Therapy. Do you remember Groove Therapy?
I do. I do. With
Ozzy and Andrew Butler.
Yeah.
And Derek Arsenault. And we just, pretty much glorified Dead cover band.
Yeah.
We'd cover we did quite a few Fish tunes. And then every once in a while we'd do this Medeski, Martin Wood and stuff like that. And
right.
Just, and that was being in that band was this huge learning experience, because it was just hey, let's just get up there, learn these tunes, but then also let's jam out for 20 minutes in between and see where it goes. So it was definitely a lesson in improvising on stage with other guys. And I'm very grateful I got to play in that band, because learned a lot, and then took what I learned in that band and definitely used that for Fat Jebus when we started writing and performing with that band.
Yeah. How much of your music is improv, during the live shows?
These days, none.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. A long time ago, it was probably half or more.
The good old days.
Yeah. But then that, even in Fat Jebus, we started out just pretty much improvising, or we would have a riff and let's just play that riff that we had in practice and see where it goes in the show.
Right.
We had a lot more balls back then, I think.
Yeah.
But even in that band, eventually that band just kind of stopped jamming, and we were trying to write tight songs that had cool structures and cool ideas. And every once in a while we'd play maybe an older song that we could still explore a bit. But yeah, then eventually it just became no jams at all.
Yeah.
It's funny with eventually the Fussy part in Forcefields, people would assume that we were jamming, but those songs are written.
Yeah.
There might be some parts that sound like we're just goofing off, but we play those parts the same every night,
Yeah.
It's funny. Oh, you guys are just up there jamming. No, man, we wrote it like that.
Yeah. Well, if you know music, some of those, I guess you'd call them riffs, but they're 16 or 32 bars long, where if you don't know where you're going with it,
yeah,
that it does seem like it's made up on the spot for the crowd, because it's just a real trancy riff, and then something will change real quick, and then it comes back to normal, and it goes on for a couple minutes. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know exactly where the counts are, which I don't think anybody but the band does, then it is that the hooks that really grab you.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes we don't even know where we are, but I don't know. I like that aspect of the music, though. I like seeing bands like that, where you get lost in what they're doing. And
Yeah.
even though they have it planned out, or maybe they don't, but what they're doing is meticulous, and you're left in the crowd either trying to figure out where you're going to bob your head, or
Yeah.
you just can't bob your head, so you just enjoy it.
Yeah. What was your first exposure to improv, and then also like real strict off time signature music? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. I guess actually the first show I ever really played, it was with Pat Lewis and Andrew Butler and Clinton Charlton from St. John. Do you know Clinton?
Nope.
He's a singer-songwriter, also a drummer in a lot of bands. Plays with Jessica Rae.
Oh, cool.
But the first show I ever played was with those three guys, and we did an hour-long set, but we only really played 2 songs.
Right.
I forget what songs they were, but it was 2 Fish songs. So we started with one, we jammed for 45 minutes into the next one. But that 45-minute jam in the middle was my first real all right, let's get up on stage and just do it. And that was walking off that stage, I was yeah, I could do this for a long time. And then eventually getting into the weirder stuff, I would say it's probably when we started doing Fussy Part. Fat Jebus would do a couple weird time things here and there, but it mostly came from more of a jazz thing. Let's try to do a weird 70s jazz fusion funk thing,
Right.
and maybe add an odd timing in there. And then Fussy Part's completely off that. It's not jazz fusion.
Yeah.
But just working with those guys in that band, everybody's coming up with weird ideas. So, and I felt there's probably a period where we were trying to outdo each other on the weirdness,
I felt that.
Yeah, someone brings in a riff and we all just look at him going what is that? What are we supposed to do with that? But you work on it long enough, and eventually it turns into something. You're oh wow, we did it. Cool.
Yeah, what were you listening to that was progressive back then that would influence Fussy Part?
Well, I was starting to get into that Do Makes I Think band. Probably a lot of Tortoise, Sea and Cake kind of stuff. I was listening to quite a bit of jazz. Yeah, I don't know. We were just, I was trying to get my hands on anything to listen to at that point. That was a pretty formative time it was it was around the time where you're downloading a lot from the internet. It was LimeWire, or just finding torrents and stealing a lot of music.
Yep.
The internet really just opened up the amount of music that you could hear, right? Whereas before I would be going to Backstreet or to a record store and just buying a CD, and usually trying to buy something that I knew of, or I might have heard of, or somebody told me about. And then you start around that time too, probably listening to more electronic music, starting to get into, Square Pusher and Aphex Twin, and those guys are just completely out of it, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that, and I know Bob for sure, who is listens to more electronic than I ever had. But back then, when we were starting to play together for Fussy Part, Bob was definitely listening to a ton of electronic stuff, and stuff that I probably never even heard of. And so that was a big influence for the band too. Really, was a bit of the electronic stuff. You could hear it a bit on the Ben EP, the first EP we did. It's got a bit more of an electronic tinge to it, even though it's all organic, mostly organic instruments.
Yeah. So that's where most of that influence comes from, was Bob, probably?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, we were all kind of listening to that kind of music, but I think the project mainly Bob's to begin with. I think Bob and Kyle. And Bob's always writing stuff that is electronic and that he sends out, and eventually do get turned into Force Fields tunes. But yeah, I think that was kind of where that band was headed in the start. It was let's see what we can do with maybe the odd keyboard, or a synth line that's already patched in on his computer. He used to use his laptop all the time back in the day when we were playing, and have it synced up with his drumming. But we don't do that anymore, unfortunately.
No. So when did Olympic Symphonium come to the world?
That was probably mid 2000s, I think 2006 or 7. Like, I know Graham he just had a bunch of songs that weren't obviously going to be Grand Theft Bus songs. And he knew Kyle had some songs as well, and that Kyle played upright bass. So the two of them wanted to start a project, and Kyle and I were living together at the time. And he had probably heard some songs that I had just from like sitting around the house, strumming away, that actually didn't fit into anything I was doing too, or any other band I was playing in. So I think Kyle had the idea to ask me to join. And then, next thing you know, we have an acoustic folk band that's completely different from any of the other bands we were doing at the time, which is a band I love. And like, I don't know, I think we've been somewhat successful. You know, we got a little bit of a fan base, and like I said, that's definitely a project where the albums for me are like the main focus. I feel like our albums have definitely been progressing and getting better every time we go into the studio and record. So I'm excited to see where that band's gonna go. I mean, we don't play often. Once again, you got 3 dads in the band.
Right.
You got Kyle lives in Halifax, and he's busy running a label and playing with hundreds of other people. So, but I think we might not play all the time, but we will definitely always keep recording. I think that's the main thing, is like get a new batch of songs and just go bat them out in the studio and do some experimenting, see what happens.
Yeah. How did the Fuse Orchestra thing come to light?
Well, playing with them, that was Greg Harrison's idea, because that's his project. I think it's mainly his project. I'm not sure how they started, but so he does the Fuse Festival here every summer, up at UMB, which is sort of like a avant-garde, classical, experimental music festival. And he had asked us, I think he asked us a few years ago, and we couldn't do it for some reason. And eventually we got to do it last year, and it's just super fun. Like, we just kind of send them what songs we want to play. We kind of catered to them a little bit. We kind of picked songs that were a bit more sparse so that they have more room to play. And then they just kind of improvise over our stuff and play in all the holes. And
nice.
It's really cool because Greg always has a bunch of percussion stuff set up, and we had another upright bass player and clarinet and violin and cello, and probably just said, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Just go crazy. The crazier the better. So they would have some ideas and play a bit with us, but the best parts I found were when they got to get really out there, and we would create a bit of space for them, and I loved it. It just got weird enough, like.
Yeah. Was that show recorded?
We did record one of them, yeah. I think we had like 3 different recordings. Like, I know Dennis had a room mic set up, and I think there was a mic on stage set up, and I think eventually we will try to put at least some of the mics together and see if it's something we could release.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I think it would definitely. I think people would like to hear it. Because unfortunately, there was only like 30 or 40 people there in Mem Hall, but it was enough for us. We had fun.
Yeah. I've checked archive a couple times just to see if it ever pops up, but that's why I wanted to ask you if you'd ever release it, because I'd love to hear it again. Yeah,
I haven't really heard the recordings, but I know it's something we've talked about. Is hopefully we can get it out soon, or even just a few bits and pieces of it. Like, maybe not the whole show, but try to get a bit out. Yeah.
So then after that, when did Some Dads come about, and like how did it come?
Well, probably like about 5 years ago, I was just really itching to kind of rock out on stage again a little bit.
Right.
And I just started writing. I had like a bunch of riffs that eventually turned into songs that there was no way they were going to be Symphonium songs. And they couldn't be force fields because we don't do vocals. So I just thought, hey, I should maybe get another band going. And in my head, immediately, I was like, well, I want Bob on drums, and I want to get Tace McAviddy on bass because Tace used to play in Fat Jebus with me, and Tace and I still like we hang out as much as we can. Well, not right now, unfortunately, but
Right.
we you know, we were hanging out quite a bit, and it was just like, hey man, you want to like, I got these songs, you want to, you know, play bass on them and maybe eventually start a band? And he was like all for it. So we, like I say, we were writing. I had just those 3 songs to begin with. We went in and recorded, had put out a little EP. But as soon as it was out, I was like, oh, we need another guitar player because I feel like we're missing something. And I've always loved playing with Steve Dunn, and he's just got the perfect like sensibilities for writing the most perfect parts you could ever want. He's just such a tasteful guitar player, and he always does the right thing, even though it like, you know, it might seem weird when I first hear it, and then as soon as we start playing a song, I'm like, oh yeah, no, of course you just did the most perfect thing you could put over that song. So finally we had him, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is a band now. I feel good about this. So it took a few more years to actually get enough tunes to like even play a show.
Right.
And then once we had like 8 new songs, I was like, we got to go record. Like, let's get another album out. We actually only had 7 songs done. The song 8, I didn't have any lyrics for, but I had this whole piece written out, and I think we had like rehearsed it a few times. And so I was just like, let's just record it in the studio and see what happens. And it eventually ended up turning out like, it's great. It's a cool tune. But yeah.
What song is it?
It's called Dirty Boy.
Okay.
It's near the end of the album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have lyrics for it. But I promised the guys, I was like, I'll have lyrics. Don't worry. Let's just record the music and then worry about that later. So.
Yeah, Stephen Dunn's parts are always just a little eerie and dark and just perfect, like real minimalist too. Like sometimes he'll just play a flat note over the entire riff. Dun, 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 dun. Oh yeah, his taste is definitely perfect for the project.
Yeah, I love it. And he could be weird too. Like his guitar part in the first track, Crown, like at the first half of the song, he's just kind of playing really sparsely, and you almost never know when he's going to come in. And then eventually near the end, he's doing this weird like descending and ascending thing that seems like it's never going to catch back up to itself. And it's so off time with everything else. Like, it's just perfect. Such a weird guitar player, but I love it. Yeah,
definitely. It definitely complements your style too. Like, you do the same thing I find in like Force Fields with just the eerie riffs. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know. I love playing with Steve. Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned some dads is because Force Fields doesn't do lyrics, but Fussy part had that one song, Near You. So I guess my question is, last year at Paddlefest, you guys brought back Dog Food Thumb. Is there ever any potential to bring back Near You?
I doubt it. I feel like we did bring it back randomly. I mean, a really long time ago when we had stopped playing it. I think we brought it back once just for shits and giggles. But we actually had 2 songs with lyrics. The first song we ever recorded together, like in a studio, was something we did at the Center for Arts and Technology here in Fredericton.
What was that called?
It's called Long Enough was the song.
Okay.
And I think you can find it online somewhere. Steve Dunn was going to school there for audio engineering. And so he needed some random projects to record. So we were like, oh, I have this song. Let's do that as a Fussy part song. And we used to play it quite a bit back in the day. So we did have 2 songs. We did have 2 songs with lyrics. Nice.
Yeah. The Dog Food Thumb reprise was fucking awesome.
That's one of my favorite songs to play.
Yeah.
And honestly, man, we still like, I don't know if we've ever played it correctly.
Well, there's so many like off at like towards the end, everybody's getting like dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I always get that part wrong. Always. We've gone over it so many times, like, and I always think I have it, and then when we go to perform it at a show, it always falls apart for me there.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome though.
Maybe nobody notices, but I do.
Yeah, I've never noticed because I don't know what the fuck's supposed to be played at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we're trying to play it exactly how it's played on the album, but
Yeah.
never happens.
Where'd the name come from for Dog Food Thumb?
The song titles are always just random stuff that somebody says, really.
Yeah.
I think there was a time where we each wrote a song. And so we had 5 brand new songs to come together for and write and work on. And none of them had names. So we just found this like random name generator that would just pop up two random words together. And that's how we got song titles.
Bam.
No meaning whatsoever.
No.
Yeah, like one was Mist Candy.
Yeah.
One was
Sick track.
one. Bob had a tune called Re-emphasizing Bingo, which we only ever played once. What else was there? Erased Dwarf was another one.
Or Robot Milk.
Robot Milk was one, and Bonus Cats.
Yep. Bonus Cats is a fucking awesome song.
Yeah, I love that tune. That's another one that we never really play. It's always like it's got a cool feel and it really it's laid out nicely when I hear it. But anytime we've ever tried to perform it, I always feel like we're lost and we don't know how to get what we did on the album like out on stage. It's never really been conveyed properly, I feel. But that the recording on that album is really good, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway. But
I fucking love it live. So I don't know if whatever you think you're missing, if that comes out in the future, that'll be fucking awesome.
Yeah, we should revisit that tune because it's cool. Yeah, it's a cool one.
I think the first time I heard it was at Folly Fest.
Oh yeah,
maybe on the small stage.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember. It's very specific, but yeah, that was incredible.
Cool, thanks. I like that little burn stage. That's awesome. I love playing there.
Definitely. So another song I want to talk about is from the new album, Fuck You, David Usher. I would love to hear everything you have to say about that.
Oh, man. Well, the song really stems from 2 stories that are very true. Happened in Fredericton. And well, it's all there in the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's all there in the lyrics. I mean, the second verse especially, it's like, it's all about Grant That Bus. They had a show. They were playing at the Upper Deck years ago. Yeah. And I wasn't there, so this is all secondhand, but I heard it from Bob himself, who they were playing, and David Usher shows up with his band, or I don't think it was Moist. I think it was like he was doing a solo tour through town, and they show up, and he tried to go up on stage and like ask the guys, or he pretty much tell the guys that he wanted to play some songs with his band. And it eventually got to the point where Bob was like, while playing, screaming at him, saying like, fuck you, you're not doing that. Like, get the hell out of here. Who do you think you are? Right. You know? So they literally stem from situations where he was pulling the "don't you know who I am" card. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's just those stories have always existed. And I've heard other stories that people have had about him. It's so weird that I keep hearing random kind of shitty things about him. Right. And so I just thought it'd be funny to put it in a song. And then I don't even know if we had a title for that song. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call it Fuck You, David Usher. And just to see. And then people know right away who it's about. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I'm sure there's more stories out there, and I don't want to tell other stories that I've heard because they're not my stories, but man, there's some doozies out there.
I would love to hear every one of them.
Maybe next time I see you, not in podcast form, we'll chat about it.
Perfect. I would love that. One thing I love about that song, it might be my favorite song on the new album, is during the verses you start singing, and then almost on the second half of the verse you drop a half step in the vocal. Yeah. Like, and it just sounds so dissonant but perfect. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know how I did it. It's like just the way it came out, I guess. Sometimes I don't know if it was intentional or yeah. but it's so perfectly, like, it's not like you're singing out of key because it's perfectly on. It's not,
Mhm.
it's not like a quarter step flat. It's a half step perfectly.
Mhm.
And it sounds so awesome. And I was just wondering where the idea came from, but if it was unintentional, I don't know. I
think
really love that.
It was just the melody I had in my head. Like most of the time when I'm writing, for me, like I just have the melody first, and then I find lyrics that fit into the melody. So that was just obviously part of the melody that I needed, or that I had, and I just needed to find the right words to go over it. But yeah, sometimes I don't even think about it, man. It's just like,
Yeah.
honestly, sometimes it's even just the first thing I sing over it. And I'm like, hey, that's all right. There's a melody. It's perfect. Let's not think too much. Let's not think it over too much. Let's just do it. And that, I'm pretty sure that was one of those times where it's just like, here's a melody. It works, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've told you this before too. Like, I've always been a Force Fields fan, but when Some Dads, I think the first time I've heard the EP and stuff, but the first time I saw you guys was at the Capitol for Harvest Jazz and Blues.
Okay.
And it's just, I don't know. It's another level compared to Force Fields, in my opinion, where it just, I don't know if it's the lyrics or it's just it's almost genre defying. If you ask me, like, I don't know if I've ever really heard a band sound like that. Like, and like you said, it's not something that you intended. It's just what happened and just kind of the feeling you go with. So it's almost like it's perfectly original in that it's not really influenced by anything. Am I wrong in saying that? Like, is Some Dads influenced by anything really?
Well, I mean, nothing I could pinpoint for sure. I mean, I think at the time when I was writing, I don't know, I think I just started hearing and getting into like XTC. I don't know if you ever listened to those guys.
Nope.
Just weird, angular, progressive pop music from late 70s, early 80s. Super catchy stuff, but sometimes just so weird. And just like, why are they doing that? Right. And I've always liked bands like that. And I've always been listening to a lot of field music, which is another band that does that. They're super catchy, but could be really left field and out of nowhere, just keep changing it up. But not to say that the band is influenced by those things, but just bands like that are just, I'm always kind of listening to stuff like that. And it just is probably always rattling around my brain. Yeah. But am I going specifically to try to write stuff like that? No, not really. I just write a bunch of riffs that eventually turn into songs. And I feel like they have my sound, I guess. I don't know for sure. So maybe it is the Some Dad sound, I guess. Yeah,
it definitely is. I've discussed it with my friends a bunch of times. Like, we've all felt the same way about Some Dads. It's just purely Nick Cobham. It's original. It's fucking progressive. It's weird. It's fucking awesome.
I remember, like, one of the last shows we played, I was texting with Bob, and I was just like, man, there was people like singing along up front, and like, we've only played a handful of shows.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know why, but people seem to like this band.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, it's weird enough that, you know, the weirdos in the crowd will like it, and it's catchy enough that the normals in the crowd are going to like it.
Yeah.
So he's like, I think maybe you've tapped into both worlds there. I was like, oh, maybe, I guess. But yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be like, that people would be singing along to those songs, but oh well.
It is kind of funny, like, because it does still have that real, I don't want to say dark, but just weird and different, which doesn't translate usually to people coming to a show and singing along.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's weird. I like having a little bit of darkness in the music.
Yeah, for sure.
I've always been attracted to the darker side of music for sure. Whether it's just a sad song in general or like dark music. Yeah, it's just something I've always liked. I'd much rather play a minor chord than a major chord.
Right. Exactly.
if given the choice.
Yeah. I think everybody has that sort of, well, like, music is what is a crutch during hard times, or so like that darkness, that dark emotion is really when music flourishes. So having a little bit of darkness, even in a real happy poppy song with just dark lyrics, or vice versa, happy lyrics with the dark riffs and stuff like that. It's almost like it's innate in us to be drawn to those emotions.
Yeah, I agree. And it's confusing.
Yeah, for sure.
But in a good way.
Yeah. Do you ever have any plans for like solo stuff? Do you ever play solo shows or anything like that?
I used to years ago, but I honestly don't really enjoy it, because maybe it's the feeling of being too exposed or something. Like,
right.
I always used to say, like, when I play solo shows, I feel like I'm up there with like my flies down on stage and people are staring at my open zipper. And yeah, it's a weird feeling. And maybe it's like I need the crutch of having somebody else there, just in case I make a mistake, then they'll make up for it or something. You know, I just enjoy playing. I just rather enjoy and play with other people on stage. Really. It's been years since I've played a solo show, I think.
Yeah. Is there any other projects on the go or up top in the head that you want to sort of explore? Any other genres, I guess?
I don't know, man. There's always ideas getting thrown about between other people or friends here and there, but nothing that's really been solidified. I just love playing music, man. Like if someone were to come up to me and say like, "Hey, do you want to play in a serious country band?" I'd be like, "Yes, please." Like
yeah.
I would love to play like super simple bass lines in a country band and sing harmonies. So
yeah,
if you know anybody that's looking for a country bass player, let me know.
I'll put the word out.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention this. This is one of the first times I ever met you. It was fucking a long time ago at the Capitol. And I just thought it was so fucking funny. Like, we were talking and then you kind of gave me a dirty look and you're like, fuck, your blood smells like AIDS. And then you just walked away. And we never talked again that night. I was like, that was fucking perfect.
Don't remember that at all. That's funny.
I don't know if that was like a catchphrase at the time or
no. I don't ever recall saying that ever. And I definitely only ever, if I did say that, I only ever said it once. So
one off.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Are you playing a lot of music right now? Like writing a lot in quarantine?
Trying to write, yeah, just coming up with stuff here and there, but I've been working, like still, but I just got recently laid off, so I'm going to be home with the kids a lot. But there's going to be a lot of times where I'll just make sure they get plopped down in front of a TV or something while I go play a bit of guitar, you know.
Nice.
It'll be a good trade-off.
Yeah. Do they play at all?
We got a drum kit. Like we got a kid-sized drum kit, and my daughter's actually starting to bang on that quite a bit. And I think my son's reaching the age now where he'll probably start getting interested in guitar. It's like, it's nothing I ever wanted to force on him.
Right.
But as soon as he says, "Hey, Dad, I want to learn to play guitar," then, all right, buddy, here we go.
Yeah. Well, our sons are the exact same age. They were both born on the same day. Mm-hmm. And my son just started really taking an interest. Like over the last 2 years, I had a little acoustic for him, mm-hmm. taught him the chords, just the basics, and he just couldn't hold the strings in like typical beginner stuff, and just didn't have any interest. He's kind of like me. If you're not good at it right away, just like, fuck this, I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
But so this year gave him an electric guitar, and now that he can hold the strings in, we're off to the races. He's really taking an interest in it. So that's what I was wondering about your young fella.
Yeah. Is it like a smaller size electric guitar?
It's just a little Squire Strat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's perfect for him. It's real heavy, but
mm-hmm.
when he can sit with it and he can play it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like if I got my son, like, you can get those smaller, like
little like
kid-sized
guitars.
Yeah. And I feel like if I got him one of those and we were plugged in together, he would probably like it and enjoy it a lot more. But it's definitely the finger thing. Like anytime he's tried to put his fingers on the frets, he's immediately like, "Wow, that hurts."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you'll get used to it, bud.
Yeah. You have to get used to
it. Don't give up.
Yeah. I taught him free falling.
Nice.
Just a simple little couple chords, and he's just gone.
That's
Loves
all
it.
you need. That's all you need, man. That's just a start. Just once the itch gets scratched a little bit, you're off to the races.
When did you start playing?
Probably when I was about like 16ish, 15 or 16. My uncle bought me a guitar, and I was playing it a little bit here and there, and really, I really wanted to play guitar, but I didn't quite know what I was doing. Like, I'd have the Guitar World magazines with some tabs and stuff. And
Yeah, classic.
yeah, but it was mostly I would just sit in my room and listen to my albums and listen to the radio and just try to play along. And yeah, one thing led to another. And then eventually in high school, my first year of high school, I got grounded for a month. And so all I did was stay in my room and play guitar. So that's where the first big leap happened.
Yeah. Never did lessons or anything like that?
No, not really. No, I had when I first got the guitar, there was a guy in my community center that was a huge Deadhead. And
Perfect.
I was just getting into the Dead then, and he had a book of Dead songs with all the chords, and he was like, here, why don't you take that? And then I was learning stuff from that, and then we would kind of play together. He'd show me some chords, and I'd be like, oh, that's how that goes. Oh, perfect. So that was the only really lessons I had. Yeah.
Nice. I just got one more question for you, buddy. You wanted me to ask you if there would ever be any potential for like a Force Fields Grand Theft Bus seamless set.
Seamless set, eh? Maybe. You never know. I'd rather do a Grand Theft Bus Olympic Symphonium seamless set.
That'd be cool. And easier for the members to everybody just stay on stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. We like Force Fields and the bus, like, never really played together. No. It's not like we've never really shared that many bills together, even though it seems like it's the easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see, man. You never know what's going to happen once the bars open back up and we can play shows again.
Hopefully soon. That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you'd like to play a track for us. What song did you decide on?
Yeah, I could. Well, I was going through all the songs off the Some Dads album, and I was like, none of these can get transferred to like acoustic, really. So I did find one. I will try playing it here. I don't think we're going to have much of a delay or anything. So
no, it sounds good, I think.
Yeah, and so this one is it's called Closing In. It's near the end of the album. Can you hear the guitar?
Yeah, I can hear it. And I wanted you to just pick a song, but that's the song I would have picked if I was the one picking. Because I play that one too, and I fucking love it. So this is going to be awesome.
I knew you were going to say that.
Awesome.
Whenever
you're ready.
I'm definitely going to cut the end short because the end of it's just really riffy. And
fuck yeah, do it.
So it'll be a little bit shorter than normal. But anyway, so this
Perfect.
is called Closing In. I'll see you at the curtain call, quietly up against the wall, trying my best to wait it out, trying my best to come around. Somehow I found the nerve today, but all of the comfort goes away. 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 All of it goes away. I feel the swarm is closing in. I feel the sting is going to end. Maybe the hive is in my head.
swarm is closing in. I feel the swarm is closing. I feel the swarm is closing in. 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 I feel it closing in. Closing in. Feel it closing in. Closing in. Somebody else is on the stage. Somebody else should act their age. Somehow his face begins to grin as he feels the comfort closing in. 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 He feels it closing in. Closing in. Feel it closing in. Closing in. Feels it closing in. Closing in. He feels it closing in. Closing in. He feels it closing in. Closing in. Closing in. Closing in.
Fuck yeah.
That sort
That
of
was
works.
awesome.
That sort of
That
works.
worked perfect. Classical progressive ending.
Yeah.
That was awesome, man. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you.
All right. New album, self-titled, Some Dad. Check it out on Bandcamp. I'll post a link to it, and
Awesome.
can't wait to see you guys play again.
Awesome. Yeah, we can't wait to play again.
And can't wait to see you again to hear some fuck you, David Usher stories.
Yeah, I will tell you at least 3 more.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, no, thank you.
Cool. Take care.